Hello, welcome to Unboxed God, where we detox from religion and discover the God who refuses to fit inside the boxes we were given. I'm Tolu Sarah Johnson, and here we explore who God really is, beyond fear, beyond formulas, and beyond everything we were taught to perform. If you're hungry for a real relationship with Him, you are in the right place. Let's dive in. So this is going to be continuation of our commandment, and this is going to be the last theme in this series, which is the witness. And we just got 7 commandments to go, and that will be it for the commandment book. So thank you for persevering with me on this journey. So this is going to be commandment 44, and of course the first in the theme of witness, which is be salt and light to the world. Yes, I know a lot of us, we have heard about being the salt and light of the world. This was covered as well in the parable series. So as we begin the theme of witnessing, Jesus starts with a statement that is both simple and profound. You are the salt of the earth, you are the light of the world. Notice something important? Jesus does not say you should try to become salt. It does not say you might become light one day. It says you are. In other words, when the person truly follows Him, their life begins to carry influence. Their presence changes the atmosphere around them. So witnessing, therefore, is not primarily about speaking louder. It is about living differently, because the most powerful witness is often a transformed life. So, before we dive into this commandment, let's go read the Bible verse, which is Matthew 5. Let's see. Matthew 5. Just give me a minute to open the Bible. Oh, sorry. So Matthew 5 verse 13 to 16. You are the salt of the earth, but if the salt loses its saltness, how can it be made salty again? It is no longer good for anything except to be thrown out and trampled on the floor. You are the light of the world. A tower built on a hill cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on a stand and gives light to everyone. So let's focus on the salt bit. And Mark 9 verse 50 also says, salt is good, but if it loses its saltness, how can you make it salty again? Have salt among yourselves and be at peace with each other. That's profound. You know, a lot of us use salt daily to cook. And you know that when you miss out the salt in the cooking, the food can really taste bland. I remember when I started to reduce my salt intake, a lot of food I eat, like white rice, yam, African style food, you have to put salt. That's how your taste bud has been growing up. And when I started reducing my salt, so I wasn't putting much of salt in a lot of food, I would add salt. And of course, my tongue was not really happy about it at the beginning. It doesn't taste nice. But over time, I got used to it. But what this commandment is trying to say is about the power of salt. That if you are the salt to the world, that means that you need to be of value to the world. They should be able to see you and see the value you bring into their life. You know, in the ancient world, salt had 2 essential purposes. It added flavor and it preserved what will otherwise decay. So without salt, food becomes dull and lifeless. And without salt, meat spoils quickly or even food spoils quickly. So Jesus chose this image carefully. He was saying that his followers should bring something into the world that will otherwise be missing. They bring integrity in places of corruption. They bring kindness in places of cruelty. They bring truth in places of confusion. So salt does not shout. Salt walks quietly, yet its presence changes everything. Yes, so let's look at this analogy, the meal without salt. Like I said, imagine someone cooking a beautiful meal. The vegetables are fresh, the meat is well prepared, the table is set perfectly. But the cook forgot one simple ingredient, salt. You take the first bite, something feels missing. The food is not rotten, it is not completely wrong, but it is bland. It lacks life. The same can happen when believers lose their influence. They still exist in the world, but their presence no longer adds life, wisdom, compassion, or grace. The meal exists, but the flavor is gone. So Jesus warns that when salt loses its purpose, it becomes useless. Not because salt was designed poorly, but because it stopped being what it was meant to be. Yes, that's what this parable is talking about. And then we went to the light. In the same verse, it says, you are the salt and you are the light of this world. The visible influence that guides. Light is that visible influence that guides. Jesus moves to another picture, light. Light has a different purpose than salt. Salt works quietly within. Light works visibly from without. Light reveals. It exposes what is hidden and shows the path forward. In darkness, people stumble. But when a light is turned on, direction becomes clear. And this is what a life shaped by Christ should do. Not by condemning people, but by showing another way to live. It's by leading, by shining the light, by showing them the right way to be a child of God. When you carry the love of God everywhere you go, you become the salt and you become the light. Your presence is automatically felt. They want to serve the God you carry. But unfortunately today, Christians are not light, they're not salt. They're useless. The church, the community, the society cannot feel the impact of what we bring to the society. We're essentially cut out of the society. We live in this world of our own. We go to church, we go to all those whatever evangelism and everything, but we are so separated out of this society. There is no connection. You are not having impact. You're not mixing with the people. And if you're not mixing with the people, how will your light or your salt be felt? When Jesus was on earth, he walked around with his disciples. He sits around people like, especially people that has been neglected by the society, has been rejected. Those are the ones that Jesus is attracted to. And he shines his light through them. But what do the religious people like the Christians today say? No, you're not supposed to be sitting with the sinners. And unfortunately, it's still the same today. We are the society, the community, the country, or wherever we are not able to feel our light because we're not bringing our light into the room. And we're not bringing our light outside of the church. Even in the church, our light doesn't shine. So let's look at this analogy of a lamp in a dark house. Imagine walking into a house at night with no lamps, with no light on. You move slowly. You bump into furniture. You hesitate because you cannot see where you're going, rather. Then someone switches on a lamp. Nothing in the room changes. The furniture is still there. The walls are still the same. But suddenly, everything becomes clear. That is what a Christ-shaped life does in the world. It does not scream at darkness. It simply turns on the light. And when people see clearly, they begin to move differently. So, why salt loses its flavor? Jesus gives a warning. Salt can lose its flavor. How? Often it happens when faith becomes religion without love. When believers become known only for what they condemn. Yes, and when people hear more judgment than grace, when Christians focus more on being right than being compassionate, in those moments the witness becomes distorted. The message of Jesus was never meant to sound like bad news. The gospel means good news. Yet many people today associate Christianity with criticism instead of compassion. And this is what Jesus was warning about. Salt that no longer adds life. So, being salt and light does not mean constantly preaching. Often, because I think that's the way church sees it today. Preaching. But people don't want to hear your preaching because your life itself is not preaching to them. Often it looks simple, it looks much simpler. Helping someone who is struggling, encouraging a discouraged friend, showing kindness when it is unexpected, choosing humility when pride will be easier. Witnessing often happens in ordinary moments. A generous act, a patient conversation, a quiet kindness. People notice these things. And sometimes they will ask, why are you like this? And that moment becomes an opportunity to point towards God. So the purpose of your life, Jesus concludes this commandment with something beautiful. Let your light shine before others, that they might see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven. Notice the final goal. It is not so people admire you, it is so people glorify God. The purpose of your life is not simply to succeed, it is to live in such a way that others encounter the goodness of God through you. So the invitation of this commandment is simple. This commandment asks a simple but powerful question. When people encounter you, does their world become brighter or darker? Do they experience judgment or compassion? Do they feel condemned or encouraged? Do they see someone trying to win argument or someone reflecting the love of Christ? Because the world does not need louder Christians, it needs brighter ones. So the art of commandment 44 is to be salt, and light means this: add life where the world has grown cold, bring hope where people feel lost, show love where others expect rejection, live so clearly that people begin to wonder, maybe God really is like this. And when that happens, your life becomes a witness, not because you forced it, but because light naturally shines. I hope to see you in the next commandment. God bless.